608-283115. Local 9 Franklin Public Radio. And
the day after the celebration of Christmas.
What a day it was. We love Christmas. Love Christmas. And now here we are in between Christmas, wedged in between Christmas and New Year's Eve.
So the program is Breaking Up Christmas / New Year's Eve. For Christmas is anticipation of the birth. Then Christmas happens, and the music is about the birth.
Well, good evening, everyone. Pat Gallagher, I'm the chair of the Franklin Conservation Commission. We'll call tonight's We're almost in 23. Just before we get started, just a brief announcement that due and all other manner of things, we're going to continue to be in a hybrid format for tonight. In chambers, either you are more than welcome. Or you can call the phone number 929-205-6099. And again, the meeting number is 881-6647-3997. In chambers and with us on Zoom. Jeff, do you want to start with the folks who are in chambers?
Sure. Jeff.
The video feed to chambers. There we go. Hey, Richard, how are you?
Here.
Hey. And Meg?
Kagan present.
Going with the video, it's kind of coming in and out.
No.
No.
Okay, just let us know if we need to pause, if there's anything else that we need to figure out. In the meantime, let's get started. This is a continuation from prior meetings. Is the owner or their representative available with us tonight?
No.
Rick, I understand that they have requested a continuance. It seems like the video feed is still kind of intermittently coming in and out. I just want to make sure that there
He said it's going to cut in and out all night, Pat.
okay.
It's a party. For next meeting.
112.
Yep.
February 12th.
Just before we vote on continuing this is a public hearing, so if anyone is present either in chambers or on Zoom and would like. It seems like the applicant is not with us, so may not be able to answer any questions. Great. Well, hearing none, can I have a motion, Jeff, to continue this to January 12th?
Certainly. 12, 701, Brika?
Yes, that is correct.
701.
I'll second the motion.
Great, thank you, May. Richard, how do you vote? Jeff Livingstone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. Michael, how do you vote?
Yes, continue.
Okay. Mark, how do you vote?
Yes, to continue.
Jeff?
Vote.
Public hearing for 0 Lincoln Street, the Franklin Heights Parcel B. This is an NOI that has also been continued from our previous hearings. Is anyone from the applicant or their delegate with us tonight? Per the applicant's request that came in before the hearing tonight. But if anyone from the public would like to comment, you are welcome to do so. Is anyone in chambers who wishes to comment on this or on Zoom?
No one in chambers.
Great. To January 12th?
Yes, I submit the motion to continue to January 12th. Would that be 7:02?
Yep.
At 7:02.
Second that.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Jeff Milne, how do you vote?
I vote to continue.
Great. Michael, how do you vote? Meg?
And vote to continue.
And I vote to continue as well. So 0 Lincoln Street is continued to January 12th as well. Next up, we have an NOI for 803 Washington Street. I understand that the applicant here has also
No one in chambers.
next hearing as well. Great. Well, hearing no comments, Mark?
Yep, motion to continue NOI for Washington Street till January 12th.
Second.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Jeff? Richard?
Continue.
Meg?
I vote to continue.
And Pat Calico. We are working our way there. We have an NOI for Bent Street, Lot 1. Is the applicant or their representative either on Zoom or in chambers tonight?
Yes. My name is Stephen Balsich, here representing Stephen Kelleher, the applicant for the project at 0 Bent Street. I believe the plan. I saw there was a review by Beta, and we basically made
You presented at our last hearing?
Yes. So the changes more so were notations and summarizing. The plan, a stockpile area. We have added from the Beta review overhead wires. There currently is a utility pole at the northwest corner. Property has ownership of and is allowed to cross over that 50-foot strip with the overhead wires. Those, as far as I'm aware, were the only changes made to the actual plan itself. We added details and notes there. The major details that were added or changed were we changed to a compost sock instead of the straw wattles and silt fence. This was in detail. There was also a note regarding catch base. The detail and a note on that detail that states if there are any within the proximity of the the next things we added were more so notes and calculations. So just to the left of the compost sock, there's a series of notes I added from the letter submitted by Norman Hill mitigation statement, which include minimizing impervious area as much as possible, minimize the site grading within the buffer zone, minimizing the clearing within that buffer zone, proposing a grass strip between the driveway and resource area, installing and maintaining compost sock between the construction activity. And also proposing an alternative septic system so that we were able to minimize the leaching facility area, which would then cut down on the column there. We've also added an approximate construction sequence. This more importantly to that was calculating the impervious coverage between the 50 and 100 foot. Square feet are proposed impervious within the total area of that 50 to 100 foot buffer is 9,700. So in total, we're only adding 27% of 230. So we are in compliance with that. Just to the left of those calculations, we also as stated, are expected construction process. Also, the addition of note 8 in the general septic notes. I believe Beta had a note that they wanted to know how the topography was established. So we have note, again, general septic design notes, note 18. Those were the primary changes made. Actually, those were the changes made on the 12/13/22 revision provided, in accordance with the Beta review. If there are any questions,
understand that some of the feedback was just received in the past couple of days, so understand that you and Beta are probably still going through and reviewing, but just wanted to see if you have any initial response or comments, or if there's any additional information that we need from the applicant at this point.
You summarized it well. So we did receive online as well on Zoom.
Great. Jonathan, any additional feedback from your end on this?
No, Jonathan Nero, environmental scientist with Beta Group, just for the record. No, I think that was summarized fairly well. I mean, our review was primarily concerned with compliance with the bylaw, namely limitations on impervious areas within buffer zone, as well as the location of the driveway. The driveway, according to the bylaw, is considered a structure, so the variance is required if it's located within 50 feet of the resource area. The only things I would add is that Elise Tripp from our office, who was online as well, assisted with the review and was in the field and was able to confirm that the wetland boundary was accurately flagged in the field, and also noted some of the requests we had for additional existing conditions information. Did make a comment about, the potential to minimize lawn at the site. This project will result in the disturbance of about a half acre of forested property. Limitations on lawn, it did sound like the applicant's representative did reference that there would be some sort of buffer established. Receive the information, so we do not have a formal response at this time, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Elise. Want to open it to any members of the commission if you have any questions or comments based on what we heard tonight, or to be continuing this, but if you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to run through them.
Brigitte, do you still have concerns about the vernal pool that's on that property?
The map. It is outside. It's off parcel, and then any work is outside of that buffer zone, but I still wanted them to show it on the plan to reflect accurate boundaries. Thank you, Jeff.
yeah, so if I may, I can confirm that we are outside the buffer, and actually the closest point of work is about engineering report. I also might add, we will be seeking a variance for the 50-foot deportion. Minimize grading as much as possible, but based off the soils and the size of the septic, it kind of graded out where the driveway kind of had to go more towards the northeasterly portion of the property, which is unfortunately where that resource area is located.
Thanks. Anyone else in chambers have any questions for the applicant at this time?
We do have someone in the audience.
Before we get to that, just want to check.
Questions from me at this time. Thank you, Pat.
Thanks. So happy to hear any questions from the public. Please just be sure to sign in and then introduce yourself before speaking.
Zalonic. I live at 95 Bent Street, which is the next house down street from where the property is supposed to go in. And I have some concerns. I was here at the last meeting, have concerns about the water issues. I have a bunch of pictures here. A retention pond that ultimately just drained out to the ground. And unfortunately, that's only like 400 feet from my property. And this is the end results. That's the spring. Yep. And that's the property, my property in the fall. I can't even mow my lawn until almost June for the first time. And all that water every time it rains, the water on Emily was unbelievable, 6 to 8 feet of backfill on those properties up there. And the water's got to go somewhere. I also had the state property go up on the other side of me, behind us. The water actually came right down and overflowed right out to the street. So any work that's done in that area, it affects the water tremendously. And this is the, here's some pictures of that retention. But my only concern is the effect that putting that house in. They're talking about the septic and, you know, everything. That's going to make a big difference as far as the rainwater and everything else. Now, I don't know how the driveway is going to be pitched. Is it going to be pitched out towards Bent Street or away from Bent Street? You know, and that's my concern is we're inundated with water now, and any more disruption of that area is just going to probably add to it. With the flooding, so I just want to point that out. If you want to take a look at those pictures, you're welcome to.
Do you mind if I borrow these photos?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. I have a question.
I just missed that gentleman's name. And then Richard.
My name is Romuald, but I go by Romy.
Great.
You were here a couple of weeks ago. Didn't you mention that there's some culvert work that needed to be done on a
that was the other
street there?
That was the neighbors down the street.
Yeah, Richard, DPW and I have gone on private land, adjacent to the east of where Lot 1 Bent Street is. And those pipes, when I was out confirming the delineation, are detached from the head wall, which could be one key indicator why water is not being conveyed. So these are helpful because they show what they were in their original construction, which is limitation to what the commission can do off parcel, off property, especially on somebody else's private property. So
okay.
TBD, you can also contact the builder directly if you would like and see what they are amenable to doing.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question as well. Just curious, how far away your property is from this property?
From that property, probably 1,000 feet. I don't know why the big jump, but we're the next house. So
You're
it's-
not the recording studio that's next door. You're not.
Thank you.
Okay, I see.
Jeff, do you have any questions?
The same question I have, Brika, would Beta be looking at any issues with water?
It's a, I brought up abutters contacting the builder directly.
Can we request Beta to look into it?
If I may, could I make a comment? So I pulled up the hydrologic soil group, which is based off of, we base all our drainage based off of that. And this area is primarily CD type soils, which means it has a low infiltration rate and a higher runoff rate. So higher areas is probably part of the reason why is it's a slow infiltration rate soil. That's also part of the reason why our septic ended up being so large, was just and stuff, but it's also kind of characteristic of the soil group for this area to have a higher runoff quantity rather than infiltration. So.
He's who I originally reached out to. So Brooke and Derek and I have been on this and looking at a much larger landscape characteristic, as I believe Steve, right? Steve brought up. So everything surrounding, as a separate comment, everything surrounding this area drains to this one.
Well outside of our scope, but it seems like, if things need to be done from a public infrastructure standpoint, and if that's something that needs to be looked at, even independent of this project, that would be a good conversation to have.
You got it.
I'm looking at the map now, I see.
So Steve, thank you again for the presentation. I think again that we're going to continue this until our January 12th hearing to give Brika and the Beta team some more time to review the information that you had submitted the other day. Before we do so, Jeff Mill, can I have a motion to continue?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for the Bent Street Lot number 1 to January 12th. We had 703 or 704? 704.
Michael Ryan, second.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Mark, how do you vote?
Vote to continue.
Meg?
I vote to continue.
Right. Jeff Mill?
Vote to continue.
Michael?
Vote to continue.
And Pat? Or 121 Grove Street. Is the applicant or their representative with us tonight?
Yes.
Yes, good evening. Give me 1 second, please.
There are large copy maps up there as well. There's
Thank
two
you.
up there if you would like to share.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Chris Lucas with Lucas Environmental, professional wetland scientist, certified wetland scientist, and professional soil scientist. I'm also here this evening for approval of resource areas on the property located at 121 Grove Street. The total property, this is the plan that was submitted with the ANRAD. It's a topographic plan showing the wetland resource areas. North is up on this plan. So to the east, we have Grove Street. Grove Street, consisting of approximately 26.5 acres of land with forested areas, some agricultural land towards the front, and various structures, house and various sheds and such towards the front. And it is predominantly wooded with wetland and upland areas. The site obviously is bounded by the Franklin State Forest to the west and the north, and there's a power station down here for the New England Power Company located down here along Grove Street. There's no rare species habitat on the site. There are no certified or potential vernal pools on the property. They're not located in outstanding resource water or an area of critical environment. On this property, a small portion of the property up in this corner is located within a Mass DEP wellhead protection zone. We're not seeking confirmation of the boundary here, just pointing that out for the board. We did complete a delineation of this property in early April on the 12th, 20th, and 21st of this year. We also went back on October 27th to take a second look at the isolated wetland based on comments over here before you. Vegetated wetlands. Areas in blue are the intermittent streams, and the area in orange is an isolated wetland. Just to give you a little bit more, there's a steep topography. There's a trail that runs through the property that connects to the state forest. It is steep topography sloping down. This is wetland A with a large intermittent stream flowing through it. There's a series of groundwater seeps. There's a small breakout seep here, which we flagged as a separate stream channel. The primary flow seems to come from a small, old, what we appear to believe is a well. It's a concrete square. And then continues down in this fashion and towards the north off-site. We've confirmed through stream stats that this stream watershed is way too small to meet the definition and the regulations to be considered perennial. It's not shown on the USG. Tree line here. There's a lot of agricultural field through here. This area is currently being mowed as part of the agricultural activities on the property. They cross through here to get to this portion of the field. In the center of the site, there's a small isolated vegetated wetland that's been delineated. And then there's another large bordering vegetated wetland system. The isolated wetland is identified as C. The stream here is identified as stream 2. There's two streams. Small, and then there's a more of a, appears to be a historically man-made ditch. It's pretty straight linear feature here. Starts about here, continues down, and eventually discharges to a catch basin in Grove Street. There's large. This area here is out in the field, as well as this small portion here. There's, because it's being mowed, there's not much vegetation, but there are hydric soils present. That's how we delineated the line here. We also delineated this portion. We initially looked at vegetation here. We have done a site walk with BRECA to take a look, 'cause I know there were questions about this, and I think we're in agreement now that, you know, there is the definitive break here. It is disturbed, there is some wetland vegetation here. Down and a lot of sensitive fern. I think the question came up because there is some sensitive fern between the two areas, but when you start looking at the soils, they're bright chroma, non-hydric soil features throughout this portion here. This seep right here. When we were out there the other day, there's water breaking out right here right now, and then there's a small pocket of shrub in this portion here, emergent, growing with some loose strife and hydric soils. So we are comfortable with this delineation. And basically, we're before you this evening, and for this ANRAD application, we are seeking. I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but we're seeking confirmation of the inland bank of the 3 streams as delineated. Confirmation that they are in fact intermittent and not perennial. Therefore, riverfront doesn't exist on the site. Confirmation of the bordering vegetated wetlands A and B and the isolated wetlands.
Just a quick question. So you said the people are going across the stream to go from the low part to the high part, I guess to mow it and stuff like that, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, this area right now is being actively used for agriculture. So this area is being mowed through here.
So, but there's no like.
They're working over that.
I see.
That was all historically done.
I see.
And just as a point of fact, too, this is the area where this drain pipe is. Not to get into the future design, I know we've had discussions. This is the area we're looking to vicinity. The existing wetland here can be naturalized so that will no longer be mowed. And John said at the previous hearings, the agreement is that this impacted wetland will be mitigated here. So we're not obligated to do that, but we've committed to doing that, and we'll be looking at that. And we're primarily here now because we'd like to get into the design phase, but we want to make sure there are no issues with the wetland line, which is why we're pushing to get this done before snowfall. So, but the plan is to mitigate any loss of this wetland somewhere in this vicinity. We don't have a design yet, but that's the plan.
Yep.
The intent.
Makes sense.
Okay, thanks, Chris, and thank you, Jeff. Just wanted to get Rika's thoughts. I know that there are some, kind of questions. Hydrology and whatnot. Just wanted to see, Rika, if you can share your thoughts and kind of what the right next steps are.
Walked the line with him. Next steps would be Beta to complete their review. They are scheduled, John, correct me if I'm wrong, for next week. So they will be reviewing it over 2 days. On the second day, they will invite Chris and I to come and review it. And then we can all
Okay. And just kind of for our benefit, can you go in a little bit to kind of where the questions are arising from?
Sure. So the last, when the applicant and representative were before the commission for a preliminary review of the Friendly 40B, I went out and I noticed a lot of wetland vegetation species outside of the previously delineated line, which I did share photos. Yep, thank you, Chris. So I noticed a lot of sedges, as Chris mentioned, and sensitive fern. I agree that the soils were not hydric. We weren't pulling hydric soils. However, this is an interesting intersection, to quote myself earlier. Boundary is much tight as where, you know, Chris has delineated it, but the vegetation line is outside of that boundary, and Mass regs define at least a bordering vegetated wetland, but a to promote the growth of these wetland plants. So the interpretation of the regs and the commission can, based on a handbook at least, can make a sole determination of a delineation based on vegetation alone as a regulating authority. So while I agree that the soil line is much smaller than what the vegetation line is, I would really like Beta to also chime in, and then we can all have a more collaborative effort to optimize the project and better protect the resources.
So it's basically somewhere between water line.
That's exactly right.
Basically,
Yeah. I mean, it can be, as I saw a presentation,
That's the basis for mitigation.
that's
when
exactly
you've
right.
done that,
That's exactly
Right, yeah, and that width can be greater, you know, there's certain species like sweet pepper bush, you know, that, I've seen areas where that thing's growing 300 feet from the wetland line.
They
you know,
creep.
'cause it's one of those, and, you know, that's, sensitive fern is not uncommon in agricultural fields, it's a successional species, so if you're constantly mowing, you know, sometimes enough water sits there that it can grow, and that can change from year to year, especially in a herbaceous community, which we definitely look at. So this was a challenging area, no doubt. We, like I said in the previous hearings, Tom Liddy from my office and I spent about 2 hours flagging this whole area because it was so challenging. And then we went back out in late October of this year to make sure we didn't miss anything, and we're comfortable with the delineation. And then there's mostly just some sensitive fern out here. So, and it is a wetland indicator plant, but the soils, I think if it was truly a wetland, the soils would have more hydric soil characteristics if it was being inundated long enough to truly support a wetland community, so.
I see.
That's true.
I see.
So it's
So
your
it-
interpretation of
Yeah, I was
regulations.
gonna say, it's gonna be a big interpretation.
It's interpretation.
Yep, okay.
It is, and it's definitely an area that needs scrutiny. You know, we spent a lot of time looking at it, we figured we'd be discussing
Yeah,
this
clear.
here, you know, with you and your peer reviewer.
October, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
fine.
all right.
We had to refresh quite a few of the flags along the field. Some of them got mowed down. Not all of them, I was surprised by how many were still there, but it's still active.
Okay, yeah. Okay, no more license needed. Oops. Okay.
This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public here who have questions on this application? Greek, anyone in chambers, or all fine?
Nobody in chambers. Thanks, Pat.
Okay. Richard, can I have a motion to continue the
On the call, I didn't know if they know their schedule for next week yet, since we're here. Get offline.
Weather pulled up as I was listening into that presentation. You know, I say that because we aren't just looking for fair weather, but, you know, as Chris alluded to, especially with these ice, obviously you can only do so much when the ground is frozen hard, but we shoot over the days we plan on being out there to Bricolai. In the interest of being fair and reasonable to the applicant, we are fine with having them come out and join us in the latter half of the second day that we're out there to provide the commission with an accurate review. If we get out there the first day, and the whole day we're seeing frozen solid conditions or anything that's inhibiting a fair and comprehensive review, we will let the agent know so that
sound like we're going to have any concern about frozen ground next week. Our concern is, if this pushes past the holidays, we could be in that exact predicament. Agricultural fields are very challenging to do in January and February. That's why we're hoping to do that. And if Beta has any flexibility, afternoon, if you can do Monday, Tuesday, that would be greatly appreciated. If not, I'm available Wednesday afternoon. So,
yeah, I'm
just a friendly
presently
request.
Well, we'll cross our fingers for the weather, but thank you everyone for everyone's cooperation on the scheduling, and let's try to aim for Monday if we can. That seems like that would be the best for everyone if the weather allows it.
For 121 Grove Street to January 12th.
Michael, second.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Jeff Milne, how do you vote?
Jeff Milne votes to continue.
Great, thank you. Michael?
Michael
is kind of cutting
votes
it
to
out.
continue.
Thank you, Mike.
Vote to continue.
Right, Jeff Livingston?
I vote to continue.
Meg?
I vote to continue.
Richard?
I vote to continue.
And Pat Gallagher, I vote to continue as well. Thanks.
Thanks, John.
So that. Moving into general business, I think the first thing we have up is a certificate of compliance for 5 Kate Drive. Is the owner or the representative here with us?
Perfect. So this came to light. I'm selling Kate Drive next Tuesday. We close, and the attorneys on the buyer side mentioned that they thought, Brika, correct me if I'm wrong, because to be honest, I don't know exactly what it is, but an open permit from 1982 when the house was built. I purchased the home. And the people who purchased it before me, same thing. So we're on the 4th purchase here. So my attorney recommended what I do is reach out to you guys. I reached out to Brika, spoke with her. Be inspected so that I could get a certificate of.
Great. Brika, any thoughts? Sounds like we're in good shape here.
Yeah, I recommend approval. He's not the responsible party, so please.
I'll submit the motion to approve the COC.
Richard? Jeff Milne, how do you vote?
I vote to approve.
Right, Michael?
Approve.
Mark?
Vote to approve.
Jeff Livingstone?
Vote to approve.
And Meg? Brendan, thanks very much.
No, thank you guys.
Good luck with the closing.
Thank you so much. So, for me, that's pretty good. Do I get in touch with you to get the actual form itself?
Yeah, since you're
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Bye. You too.
Violation for 305 Union Street.
Sure. So the latest update, verbatim, for the outstanding work to be completed at the Cistern, FSL plans, FSL being the representative, plans to have the debris removed via project team. This designer is in the process of reviewing the proposal and determining any additional items that will become part of the non-traditional work plan that is to be submitted to the Mass DEP for approval. The designer will prepare and submit the plan to Mass DEP. FSL's understanding from the designer is that the plan will be ready for submittal in January 2023. I recommend extend
We'll see. We'll see how
Saga
that goes.
continues.
Happy holidays, Richard.
Well, this is a good thing. This is a big deal.
Any questions from the commission or comments before we vote on extending the enforcement order?
I'm happy to hear progress, at least.
Yeah.
Really? Yep, really.
Richard, can I have a motion to extend the enforcement order for 30 days?
Yeah, I'll give you a motion to extend their enforcement order for 305 Union Street for 30 days.
Okay. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Meg, Michael. Jeff, Milne, how do you vote?
I vote to approve the extension.
Great. Mike?
Vote to approve the extension.
Meg?
I vote to approve.
Richard?
And I vote to approve.
And Pat Gallagher, I vote to approve. On scheduling afterwards. But first, for the approval of minutes for December 1st. Did anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Jeff Milne, give you a motion to approve the minutes for December 1st, 2022.
Michael, second.
Review the minutes. You're allowed to vote on them.
I did not review the minutes.
Jeff Livingstone, how do you vote?
I did review the minutes and I will vote approve.
Jeff Milne?
Vote to approve.
Michael?
Vote to approve.
Our schedule for the coming year. Brika, can you, so we had talked about for our regular meetings plus the open space meetings.
Yes. So our next meeting is January 12th, so every other week subsequently after that will be our regularly scheduled hearings. If you recall, at the last meeting, but during that hour is when we will invite in focus groups and we will have themes. So January 12th, which I still have to design those themes, but for example, January 12th may be climate change or forests or trails or Schmidt Farm, Delcart, you know, those sort of open space and recreation, hot, big item topics. The first public hearing will be in February, the third week of February, or no, I'm sorry, the fourth week of February is what we are aiming for. That will be in conjunction to regularly scheduled hearings, so that would mean we would have two. I think that one is the third week of April. So another public hearing in conjunction with our regularly scheduled hearing. Meanwhile, through these months, we will also still be meeting at hearing for open space is in June. So again, in conjunction. For open,
Sorry.
oh, yep.
What do you mean by in conjunction, like between 6?
Off for the public hearings for the open space, that by design, so that 2 separate days.
Okay.
In conjunction with those, I booked the 3rd floor training room, 10 to 11 on the Fridays immediately following our hearing, as an office hour type of situation for residents to come in and still provide feedback. CJ has given us a spot at the Winters Farmers Market.
That's great.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
I told him we did not need December. What's the word I'm looking for? Quick turnaround. We will be bouncing around the market. He doesn't have a definitive spot for us, so it is wherever we can fit in. So that going, but I might know on a Friday and would be sending out an email saying, hey, if anybody, you know, is around to go staff that, that'd be great. As well for the Conservation Commission for open space. Let's see, what else do we have going on, Pat? February, we'll also be presenting to the seniors at the Senior Center. February, once the survey goes out, so I can actually bring hard copies of the survey to the Senior Center. But they have graciously agreed, or well, not agreed, volunteered to donate. I highly encourage you to attend if you would like to.
The Senior Center is a big deal in Franklin.
Yes.
It's a very, very big deal.
Yes.
So that would be a very
I'm
connection.
excited for that one. I guess you did watch the recording, but library, Pat brought up the high school, so going where the people are to that I was following up on is I had reached out to the Housing Authority to see if we collectively, myself, whoever, can present about the open space at their community room. So simultaneously, we are getting a lot of the low income housing renters who may not have a backyard, so the TBD.
That is part of the, part of the diversity. That is part of diversity for Franklin, from the community preservation committee.
There are actually 3 tribes listed in Franklin, so I reached out to them as well.
Good idea. Wow, great idea. Good.
We'll see.
There's going to be a lot going on next year.
Good.
And we appreciate all of your time and efforts with this. I want to emphasize there's not the same requirement to have a quorum at those meetings. Whoever is available to make it, we'd love it if everyone or almost everyone can be able to participate. Formal decisions during those sessions. No quorum is required. We'll be noticing them all to the public, and the public will be welcome to come to those meetings, but they're good. Whereas the public hearings are going to be more oriented toward receiving public comment, plus the survey and
Our webpage is
So I
live
think
as
that-
well. Sorry, Pat.
thanks for so that's all I had for tonight. Any other questions, comments?
Excuse me.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was told to come tonight that we're on the dock.
Yes. Okay. That is actually on the January 12th hearing, not this hearing. I appreciate you waiting, though.
Okay.
But, yes, you will be on the January 12th, and Derek and
That's all I had. So, if anyone else had anything, speak now or otherwise,
Happy holidays.
Can I have a motion to close 2022 for the CONCOM?
I submit the motion to close 2022 for the CONCOM.
Aye.
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 Rick, is there anything for us to sign tonight?
Yes, there's one thing for you to sign. The extension for 305 Union still has to be drafted.
Where's your
Tyler is gone.
Where's Tyler? Where's Tyler?
He's up sick.
Oh, he's